Welcome one, welcome all to another episode of Echo from the Buttes. I'm your host, Tom Hardon, standing in for David Howman. Today, as always, I have Andrew Hayslett and Austen Bundy. And guys, it was a pretty good weekend for Sun Devil Athletics. One result omitted, but what do you guys think about this weekend?
A lot of W's. That's something you like to see if you're a Sun Devil fan, which is always good. Programs are rolling, which is something you want to see. Simple as that.
Yeah, if we're talking scoreboards, there were more scoreboards with ASU ahead than there were scoreboards with ASU behind, even if one of them was considered the more important scoreboard of the weekend. But I mean, excuse me, you gotta look at the work as a whole on the weekend. I think for ASU athletics, it was a pretty good weekend, even if it got off to a bittersweet start.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to jump right in. We're going to rip the Band-Aid off on this one. The 99th playing of the Territorial Cup took place on Friday night. Big matchup. It was the first ranked matchup between the two schools since 2014. And, I was in the crowd for that game. Andrew, I know you were up top, and just the way that game progressed left a lot of sour taste, a lot of just what could have been, and it was really a game of missed opportunities and just poor poor execution. Really, that's what I got out of it from the crowd standpoint. Andrew, we'll start with you. What was your view from the press box?
Same one. Simple as that. Just 5 turnovers. Even though the one botched handoff, wasn't credited to Sims, that's basically 5 turnovers with Sims. And that's what happens when you're going to have a backup quarterback in, regardless of who it is. A lot of people would have liked to, were thinking, oh, we might see Cam Dyer when Levitt was announced that he was going to be out for the year. Obviously, we didn't see that because Sims put up a couple of great performances. But at the end of the day, turnovers have affected and plagued Sims throughout his college career, and at some point it was going to catch up to him. His insanity run had to end some point, and it really ended in the game against West Virginia at best.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Andrew. I mean, you hate to lay blame at just a single person's feet, but the numbers kind of tell the story. I mean, the defense stepped up. Like, you could not have asked for a better performance from ASU's defense, because the majority of U of A's points came in garbage time. They came in the fourth quarter, where that defense was incredibly fatigued because the offense didn't give him any rest on the sideline. And other guys on the offense, Derek Eusebio, Jaron Hamilton, they all stepped up in place of Jordan Tyson, who unfortunately re-aggravated that hamstring injury and could not play in the second half. That's just like, you got to be able to roll with those punches. But the X factor in this game for ASU was Jeff Sims, and like you said, Andrew, 5 turnovers is not going to win you any games, as much as ASU has lost turnover battles and then won football games. 5 turnovers is just insurmountable, and I mean, this was a Jeff Sims unfortunate disaster class. Worst possible time he could potentially have his worst collegiate performance ever. So it's disappointing. I mean, it's not necessarily something anybody should really go and like harp on Jeff Sims for. Like, crap happens, and it was just one of those nights for Jeff Sims. But it is what it is. And I mean, like we talked about in the preview show, U of A was rolling. They were winners of 4 straight entering the contest. Noah Fafita looked like the type of quarterback who was going to pick apart ASU's secondary, which he kind of did. But also, like I said, the defense stepped up exactly how you wanted them to. There was just a perfect storm of not getting what you needed on offense, not burning enough clock when you were controlling the pace of play with the ball, and what happened.
Yeah,
And Austin, you bring up.
off that
Go ahead, Andrew.
is when you're on the field for it was over 40 minutes as a defense, you aren't going to win many games. You're going to get tired, and that's it's like you said, Austin, a lot of points in the fourth quarter, a lot of points off turnovers for U of A. Two huge things that, like, I don't even want to call it bad defense, but when the defense gave up points, it was kind of the offense's fault, either with just not getting the ball down the field enough or turnovers. Sometimes it was a bad punt. Regardless, the score isn't necessarily the defense's fault. And another thing that you brought up, Austin, is that Jeff Sims had some bad games. I look at Trenton Bourget when he was the quarterback as a backup for a few years there when he got to start. Yes, he had some very good games, and I would say is remembered fondly by Sun Devils, but he also had some stinkers in there, and that's what you're going to get out of a backup quarterback.
Yeah, you guys both bring up the defense, and that was really my highlight of the game, is just how well the defense stepped up in the face of such adversity that was really brought on by the offense. And you guys both said it, when you're on the field as a defense for 40 minutes out of a 60-minute game, Arizona put up 89 plays to ASU's 52. It's just, you can't expect the defense to hold up for an entire game faced with that much time on the field. Arizona getting so many short fields to work with really worked in their favor as well. But it was a bit of an ugly game on both sides. There were missed kicks by both kickers. After the opening defensive series for ASU, forcing the turnover after a really long opening drive, that gave a little bit of a little glimmer of, okay, is this the kind of game that we're going to be in for? Is this going to be a 7-6 final where both teams are just limping off the field, emotionally bloodied? And that's what it looked like for at least the first three quarters. Arizona State was in this game. It was 13-7 in the at the third quarter break, and you still had some hope of this team can claw back into it. We've seen these fourth quarters, especially against Colorado, where the offense just kicked it into high gear, found that X factor, found that level to get to, but it just never came. And you guys also said it with, you see it with backup quarterbacks. Just at some point, the chickens come home to roost, and it was unfortunate that it had to be in the most important game of the regular season. However, thankfully, Arizona State's season is not over. Arizona State will be bowl eligible at an 8-4 record through the end of the season. Current projections, according to ESPN, show Arizona State playing in either the LA Bowl against UNLV or the Sun Bowl against Clemson. Both pretty solid matchups, and going bowling in back-to-back seasons after the 2-3 year stretch to open the 2020s that the Sun Devils had. It lays a good groundwork for the program. Lets you know that under Coach Dillingham, this program is on the right trajectory.
Yeah, Kenny Dillingham said in the presser post game, he said, if at the end of 2023, if I told you at the end of 25 we'd be 8-4, probably everyone in this room would take that result. I would have. Yes, it is an underwhelming season, going 8-4, but just kind of wrap things up. There were so many injuries with this team. Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson, your two best players on offense. Kyson Brown was pretty much out for the year. Who was going to be your RB1 in theory, which, yes, Raleigh Brown did do a good job this season. But if you do have Kyson Brown in there, that might just spark the offense a little bit more. Jalen Moss was injured and then had an illness that just derailed his entire season. He could have been the guy that was a consistent presence outside of Tyson. Ben Coleman, center, missing a lot of games. That's a huge loss. And then defensively, you have a few guys missing a few games, like Prince Dorba, I believe, missed a few games. One of the linebackers missed a few games. So, and then you also have Xavion Alford, your top safety, out for pretty much the entire season. So that's a lot of injuries. Four of the six guys they took to media days missed a game or two at some point this season, which if you were to have that to every team in college football, we'd see a lot more 8-4 teams instead of these top line teams. So yes, it is disappointing, but given the circumstances, it says a lot about how this team is resilient enough to be 8-4 at the end of the year heading into a bowl game.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I feel like last year's result kind of inflates expectations going into this year. And I mean, that's like naturally that's going to happen because now we know what the team was capable of, especially getting Sam Levitt back, and then Tyson coming back after we didn't have him in the Texas game, being literally one play away from the college football playoff semifinal. I said it going into this year that those expectations probably needed to be tempered to this degree. An 8-4 finish is exactly where we were going to be headed regardless. Even if we were at full strength, I mean, seeing how they were playing down the stretch, but they potentially really could have threatened for a back-to-back title. But I think 8-4 is exactly where this team was going to land regardless, just because of the parity in the Big 12, just because of how college football is in general, and the fact that the conference hasn't had a back-to-back champion in over 10 years. So I think this was an adequate result for ASU, especially given all the injuries. I mean, if you were to run through that list for anybody at the beginning of the season and tell them these are all the players that are going to be out for an extended period of time, missing 3 or more games this year, I think fans would have, like you said, anybody would have taken 8-4 given the circumstances. And I think going back to with how Jordan Tyson missing a lot of time and now re-aggravating that injury here in the Territorial Cup, regardless of what bowl game ASU plays in, do we think because he's missed so much time, does he need to play in a bowl game to get his draft stock back up, or because he's re-aggravated this injury, is he gonna sit out the bowl game regardless and just get ready for April?
If I were him, there's no way I'm playing in that bowl game. I don't think Kenny wants him to play in that bowl game either. That's just,
I'm in agreement there. As much as fans would like to see him play, have one last swan song, I think it's more of a detriment to his future to play in that and force himself through it rather than get healthy and get ready for the combine in April. But moving on to some happier topics of the weekend. Hockey had a 2-game series against Ohio State at Mullet Arena this weekend. It was a return series from the 2020-2021 season when ASU played all on the road against Big Ten teams. And coming into this weekend, Ohio State was on a very similar trajectory to Arizona State after the season started. Both teams were ranked in the USCHO top 20. Both teams faced some struggles, in inconsistent play and inability to grind out complete games. So this was really a must-have series for the Sun Devils. And Friday's matinee game before the Territorial Cup showed some of that tenacity from the Sun Devils team. The Ohio State got out to an early lead in the first period, quickly tied up by ASU about 10 minutes later in the first. Then Ohio State taking the lead in midway through the second period and playing almost a full period with the lead. You could really see the Sun Devils just kick it into that extra gear in the third period. Noah Powell, playing against his former team, got the game tying goal. And then, as has been the trend as of late, the Sun Devils did go to overtime, and Cruz Lucius became the first Sun Devil player to hit the 10-goal mark this season, getting the overtime winner a minute and 13 into the game, getting the first half of the series win under their belts. To me, it was just a great example of, it wasn't necessarily a complete game. Coach Powers did say in the post-game comments that not a lot of things went right for the team on Friday, but just enough at the right time did, and that's really what it comes down to. This team just has to be able to capitalize in the right moments. We'd love to see a full 6-minute game, full dominant effort start to finish, but nailing down the individual moments at any given time is really key, and that's what this team really focused on for Friday's game. Andrew, I know you were prepping for football, but how much of Friday's game were you able to catch?
I was not able to catch it, unfortunately, because it wasn't on Fox 10 Extra as the team had said. So it's like, that's disappointing. So I was able to follow the game from my phone, with your tweets, Tom, but not much further than that.
Well, Saturday's game was looking to be a palate cleanser after the Territorial Cup game. That's exactly what it was too, and this was even a greater display of identity hockey for the Sun Devils. That's something that Coach Powers referred to it as in his post-game comments. Falling behind 3-0 in the third period. The Sun Devils were just completely on the ropes, and they didn't really they were having opportunities throughout the game, but Sam Hildebrand for Ohio State got the start over Christopher Eberle, and he was exactly the refresher that they needed in net after losing in overtime. Really impenetrable for the first 2/3 of the game, and then slowly just chipping away. Jack Beck got on the board with the Devils' first goal. Joel Shelberg, his first career goal and first goal from any defenseman for the Sun Devils this season, just 3 minutes later. And then Sam Alfano, a player that I highlighted as somebody in line for a breakout, got the tying goal, and Mullet Arena was absolutely buzzing. The energy was palpable. It was the loudest I've heard that arena this season, completing the 3-goal comeback. The Sun Devils did have a chance. They had the winning goal on the board in regulation with about 34 seconds left. The play ultimately got overturned on a high stick by Colin Potter, so for the third straight game, off to overtime again. And who else but Colin Potter with the game-winning goal at 4:40 of the overtime period, completing the weekend sweep, the first sweep of the season, excluding the Icebreaker championship win, and gives the Sun Devils a great boost going into a bye week this weekend before going on the road to Minnesota Duluth next weekend, and a very tough Bulldogs team ranked towards the top of the NCHC.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Tom, Coach Powers needs to figure out, all right, how can those final 15 minutes in that game on Saturday transfer into a full 60-minute game, because they've played a lot of good chunks of hockey, but never a full 60-minute game where I've said, yeah, this is a team that's a force to be reckoned with. If you're sleeping on this team, you're gonna get caught. We've seen that in this 3-goal comeback, which, funny enough, Tom, the last time ASU was down 3 goals and came back to win was against the next opponent that they play in Minnesota Duluth in the second NCHC first round playoff game last year. So that's something to watch out for. It's the first time the Sun Devils had a 3-game win streak this season, with all 3 games overtime, which is interesting that they've had to go down to extra hockey. They're just playing these teams really evenly matched. And beating Ohio State's something they needed to do. Both teams received votes in the USHO.com poll. And now that the Sun Devils swept, they should be receiving more than one vote, because what is it, a few weeks now in a row that they've just had the one singular vote. So that's something they need to do. I want to take a look at the NPI right now, because this is the now out of November. We can say, okay, this is where teams stack up, because the NPI replaced the RPI, which that's the system where the committee decides who gets into the tournament. Right now, Arizona State is sitting at 41st, according to College Hockey News. They haven't lost to an opponent lower than them, which in the NPI, they beat Alaska and Notre Dame in the Icebreaker tournament, as you said, Tom. And looking ahead, the next 2 opponents in the NPI, Minnesota Duluth ranked 4, Dartmouth ranked 1. Dartmouth has yet to lose this season. So 2 hard opponents on the road, where ASU, they've got to bye this week before facing Duluth, and then they have the Christmas holiday break before facing Dartmouth up there in New Hampshire. So a lot of time to prepare, get ready, figure out what they were able to do well in those final 15 minutes of Saturday's game, try to put it into a full-length game and see what can they do. Like I want to mention Noah Powell, like you said, Tom. He took 2 points all weekend. Really wanted to make sure his presence was felt, and yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, really key weekend for Powell. He had that extra motivation going up against his former team, and that's something that Coach Powers alluded to in Saturday's post-game comments as well. In those upcoming games for the Sun Devils that you mentioned, Andrew, Minnesota Duluth will be next weekend, December December 12th and 13th on the road in Duluth, then the Christmas holiday, and then back on the road to Hanover, New Hampshire, December 26th and 27th at Dartmouth, before returning home on the other side of the new year for the Desert Hockey Classic. Arizona State will be playing Alaska Anchorage on that Friday, January 2nd at 7 p.m. for their first home game of the new year. And wanted to just take a quick look around the NCHC standings as well. No conference points were at play this weekend. It was a heavy non-conference weekend across the board. Arizona State is sitting in 5th in the standings currently with 10 conference points in 8 games played, a 3-4-1 conference record. Denver sits on top with a 5-1 record. Western Michigan, the defending conference and national champions, in second with a 5-3 record. Minnesota Duluth right behind them at 14 points, 5-3 record, 2 wins and 1 loss coming in overtime. And that North Dakota rounds out the top 4 with 13 points at a 4-2 record, 1 loss coming in overtime. It's very tight in the NCHC. Something to watch over the next into January and the beginning of February will be who gains separation in the conference, because you don't truly have that bottom dweller team like Miami was last year. You know, they did get off to that hot start and they've cooled off a little bit this year, but all 9 teams in the NCHC are dangerous, and one team's just going to be the unlucky team to get left out of the tournament when it comes time for postseason play in March. So lots of things to look forward to for Sun Devil hockey.
Yeah, like you said, Tom, Miami just won the Friendship 4 in Ireland. They're a dangerous team. It's right now I'd put the NCHC kind of divided into 2 teams. The one side can play for a national championship, and the ones that are just trying to get into the tournament at this point. And it's a very huge gray area on where that line exactly is. So right now you've got Duluth, North Dakota, and Denver clearly at the top, and then it kind of gets a little cloudy after that until you get toward more where the bottom teams are, where Arizona State is at the moment, but that can easily change in this conference. It's still very early. A lot can happen.
Sometimes all it takes is a streak, and right now ASU's got the 3 in a row. If they can go to Duluth and split that series, they're in great shape going into the holiday break, especially when you got Dartmouth up next.
Yeah, splits on the road are at minimum what you want at this point of the game, and especially in conference play, got to get as many points as you can. Hopefully, if there is a loss on the radar for the Duluth series, take it to overtime, at least get 1 point, and be able to come out of that series with 3 or 4 points in the standings. We'll go ahead and move from the ice to the basketball court. Men's basketball made I'm going to say it was a surprising run to the championship of the Maui Invitational. Unfortunately, that magical run did come to an end at the hands of former Pac-12 conference foe Southern California by an 88-75 final. I caught a little bit of it here and there, but Austen, we'll start with you. How much of that tournament were you able to keep tabs on?
I was able to watch the semifinal matchup and the final. They looked great. I mean, none of us caught that Texas game because it was on so late, but I caught the semifinal matchup. They looked great there. I mean, they were exceeding my expectations when it came to the tenacity and perseverance that they were showing, and Mo Odom just carrying the team on his back. In the final, they had a chance. I kind of expected them to walk in there and kind of just fall a little flat. I mean, I wanted them to repeat the performance they had in the semifinal, but ultimately, they gave USC a fight. They hung in there, single-digit deficits, taking the lead a couple times. They had a 6-point lead, I believe, in the second half for a little bit before USC just kind of went on a charge, and ASU's offense petered out. The defense got a little fatigued. Which was kind of what I expected. I mean, we're not entirely sure what USC is going to be this year, but they were undefeated exiting that final. So the fact that ASU was able to hang around and give them a pretty decent fight, and the fact that USC is only their 2nd loss on the season this year, they're exceeding expectations for me so far. I think Bobby Hurley's found something. We don't know whether that's going to measure up to anything worthwhile in conference play. We always know that the Sun Devils tend to overperform in non-conference conference play in the Bobby Hurley era. So at the moment, I was expecting ASU to have at least 3 losses by this time of year. I mean, just because of this tournament alone. But the fact that their only 2 losses are to Gonzaga and a USC team that's undefeated and could potentially be something this year, that gives me a little bit of confidence that maybe Bobby Hurley has found something to make ASU competitive at the very least going into conference play this season. So, I mean, they look good. I don't know how good they're going to maintain, but it's good enough to the fact that I don't think they're going to embarrass many people this year.
This is a guy that's coaching for his life. He knows he's on the end of his deal. I think he feels that if he doesn't produce, he's out the door. Not to say that he's
already out the door.
He's been the best Sun Devil basketball coach in history, most wins. So yes, these last few years have been underwhelming, but let's not forget that. We'll see what he can do this season. Like you said, Austin, he does well in the non-conference. I was only able to catch bits and pieces of the championship game. I was editing my other podcasts at the time, but yeah, this team could be something. Mo Odom did make the all-tournament team for the Maui Invitational, which just shows Bobby can get good players.
Yeah, Mo Odom has really stood out to me as the true leader of this team. He's been a very consistent presence and can effectively lead the team on the floor. Samba Diop is a very, very, very solid big man down on the inside. And one thing that did kind of concern me about that final was 42% shooting from the field. A little bit on the lower side, but still seeing just the overall chemistry that this team has been able to play with. And like you said, the only 2 losses to Gonzaga and USC. We'll see how long this magic is able to keep running for the Sun Devil men's team. Going on to women's basketball, a rare doubleheader. Women's basketball opened up the Black Friday schedule with a morning matchup against Little Rock, playing to a 59-41 final, keeping their undefeated run going to start the season. And, is some of the magic from Molly Miller, is that really what's percolating throughout the entire basketball program for both men's and women's?
Maybe. I don't know. You'd like to think so, at least. But I'll could spin it the opposite way too. Is Bobby Hurley's great non-conference play really affecting Molly Miller too? So we'll see. I don't know.
I mean, the women's game is a whole different animal to the men's game, and I think the way that ASU women have displayed that they're not only a whole new team now under Molly Miller, that they have this whole new tenacity, they have this ability to dominate in the games they should, and then be scrappy enough to have an opportunity or give themselves an opportunity to win the games where there's a more experienced program in front of them. I mean, just look at the UNLV game. I think they're eventually going to stumble at some point. Every team will. It's just against who. You would hope that maybe if they do fall, it's going to be against a team that is clearly better than them, rather than a team that they play down to the competition. I would like to see, even if they do fall to someone like that, I think it's a good learning lesson. I think it's one of those games where you'd rather lose that game early on this year than do it down the stretch in March. And I think Molly Miller earned this position. She's earned her reputation, period. And she would not have gotten this job if there was no belief that things were going to be turned around and the expectation was going to be a lot higher, and maybe not to the level that we're seeing right now. Maybe it was to the level that we're seeing right now. But either way, this is what you want out of a new head coach. You don't want that slow burn, especially when you're coming off of a great year with your previous program. So I give a lot of credit to Molly Miller and everybody on that roster for hitting the ground running and really giving ASU fans a lot to cheer for out at Desert Financial Arena.
And at the end of the day, wins are wins, and the more wins, the better. We'll take wins however they come.
Yeah, there's a reason you play the game is to see wins matter, no matter what college sport. Wins matter, not necessarily strength of record or anything like that. Play the game to see who wins the most at the end of the day. And that's what ASU women's basketball is doing, winning games.
Exactly, and to finish out the back-to-back weekend for women, hosted Southeast Missouri State, a much more dominant win, 85-56, and this team just kept on clicking. It's been fun to follow along. I'll have to get myself out to Desert Financial Arena to catch a game at some point this season, but this team is giving a lot to be excited about. Coming up next on the schedule for both women's and men's, the Brienne January Classic will be played at Mullet Arena December 5th and 6th. ASU will play McNeese State on the 5th and San Francisco on the 6th. And then men's will be in action downtown at whatever the Suns Arena is called now, Mortgage Matchup Center, I think.
That's right.
I still call it America West Arena. That shows how old I am.
It's still Footprint Center for me.
Oklahoma will be the next opponent for men's in the Jerry Colangelo Classic, Saturday, December 6th at 8 p.m.
Did you say they're playing a women's basketball game at Mullet?
Yeah, 2 back-to-back games at Mullet.
I didn't know we could convert it into a basketball arena.
Yeah, they had a few games of basketball there last year and volleyball as well.
Wrestling's even had a couple matches there as well, just on off weekends for hockey, obviously.
If they hadn't announced the renovations to Desert Financial, you would think they're getting Mullet ready to be the next primary arena on campus.
Well, to steer off topic a little bit, that was one thing I was wondering whether Desert Financial would be renovated to host hockey, or if there would be a combined building that's big enough to host both hockey and basketball. I think given the popularity of ASU hockey, you might have wanted to see a little bit more than 5,000 capacity. But for where the program is, I think it's the perfect arena and just perfectly intimate. And now the next step is getting Desert Financial out of the 1970s and up to date with other arenas around the country, and to be able to attract the next wave of talent.
With handrails down the stairs.
And cup holders.
That shows you how old the building is.
I didn't think about that. There were no handrails and there's no cup holders at Desert Financial. That's crazy.
And you still have folding seats down low too. But sticking on the court, finishing out this show with volleyball. Volleyball already coming home, Big 12 champions. Had the final 2 games of the final 2 matches. Matches, is that the correct term? I'm not up to date on my volleyball.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, it's a match.
Final 2 matches of the season, hosting Cincinnati, winning that match 3-1, and then finishing with a 3-1 victory over West Virginia. And the selection show is going to be coming up soon, if it hasn't already, for the volleyball tournament. Arizona State.
I believe that's in a few hours. So by the time this is uploaded, you can do a Google search. We don't know yet. I'm guessing a 2 seed for Arizona State. That's my guess.
And JJ Van Niel does have the volleyball team poised for at least the 2 seed, maybe a 1 seed if we're lucky and the right results go that way. But another team, another conference championship, setting the standard for Sun Devil athletics, and keeping excitement in all areas of the program.
I'm excited for them. I think they're going to make a deep run. I still hold by that they're going to make at least the Sweet 16. I think they can go deeper, though.
JJ Van Niel's not lost a home match this year. Last regular season home match he lost was Oregon 2 years ago, and then he only lost the Texas A&M match in the tournament last year. So only 2 losses at home for Coach Van Niel in his history at Arizona State. Just shows what he has done with the program. Even Greg Powers talked about it. He said something along the lines, there's not enough appreciation we can give to JJ Van Niel.
And very fitting those comments after JJ was part of the ceremonial puck drop for hockey on Saturday. Just goes to show the real community among all the coaches within Sun Devil athletics. Something that you love to see as a fan, and seeing just the cohesiveness across all sports.
Have Kenny and Bobby done one yet?
Kenny was on hand for games last season when after ASU won the Big 12 championship, I believe one of the late season games, or early in January after the Peach Bowl. But Kenny has been Kenny has been there for hockey. I don't think Bobby has been on hand for a hockey game yet.
Like you were saying, Tom, it spreads to the players too. A handful of volleyball players are at the game, the hockey game on Saturday after their game. Baseball players are often at hockey games. Football players are often seen around at football, hockey, basketball. Just really spreads from the top down. It's everyone supporting everyone, just because it's Sun Devil athletics are all connected. Coaches, players, under Graham Rossini, who's doing a great job fostering that.
And not enough credit can be given to Graham Rossini just for the overall culture that he's helped to instill within the program since he's taken over as athletic director. The programs across the board are leaps and bounds above where they were previously, and it's exciting to be a Sun Devil. I'm speaking for myself. This is probably the most exciting period I've had as a Sun Devil.
This is very little off topic, but I noticed during the broadcast of the Territorial Cup game that we've got a Fiesta Bowl banner in the football stadium. They showed some sort of. They had a shot up where it had like the Fiesta Bowl logo and the years that we had won the Fiesta Bowl. Where is that in the stadium? I have no memory of that.
It's new this season. It's in the southeast corner of the stadium above the student section. So on one side you have the bowl, the major bowl years, and then on the other side is the conference championship years. That's in the southwest corner.
Oh, geez, good. I was wondering when we would ever put something up that like acknowledged the success that the program actually has, because we have like absolutely nothing up. At least when I was there, even just being there a couple of years ago for a game, there was absolutely nothing to reflect any of the success that the team had.
Well, up next is to claim that national championship from the 70s. Hang a banner for that, since everybody's claiming all the lower polls from 40, 50, 60 years ago.
1975. Raise the banner for 75.
I would like to claim some free food if that's possible.
This isn't Coastal Carolina.
Worth the shot.
Well, as we've said, it's a very exciting time to be a Sun Devil, and lots on the horizon for all of athletics coming up in the next few weeks. For Austen Bundy, for Andrew Hayslett, I'm Tom Hardon, signing out for another episode, and as always, give 'em hell, Devils.